Call the meeting to order on May 1st, 2024, the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we do have citizen input this morning. Let me call up Jim Murphy and his wife, Missy. Oh, he did. Well, then we will call up Carl Schumacher then. You'll be next. Okay.
Good morning, I'm Carl Schumacher. I live in Bend. I'm marked safe from shooting Remy, my dog, in the face this week. Oh, I'm sorry, parental advisory. Last week, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments for Idaho versus United States, where Idaho is fighting to be able to disregard federal law and deny someone emergency medical care specifically because they are pregnant. In all of 2023, only one pregnant patient needed to be taken by helicopter to a hospital in another state for care. Since the Supreme Court gave permission for Idaho to disregard EMTALA, 6 women have needed to be life flighted to another state for care in just the first 4 months of 2024 alone. 6 women have had to be relegated to another state, I assume Oregon or Washington, taking probably hours by helicopter while suffering horribly along the way. Because the Christian Republican politicians of Idaho have put into place a total ban on abortion. Shakespeare himself would not have written a better tragedy or dark comedy. I will leave it at that. Vote or lose. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Jim and Missy Murphy now. And you do have 3 minutes for your comments.
Morning. A few months ago, my wife and I decided to install solar panels on our home on Clyde Lane. The solar installation company applied for the necessary permits, and in March contacted me and said the community development permit technician had contacted them and said there was a problem with the original permits, building permits. I contacted Mew Green, and she told me, quote, the original dwelling permit never received any inspections. To legitimize the building, you'll need to hire a third-party home inspector to do fire, life, and safety inspections of the house. You can reach out to Prime Home Inspection, unquote. This is a 47-year-old permit. Deschutes dial shows that the 24 houses on Clyde Lane, there were at least 4 different builders. 17 had expired permits, 3 had no building permits on file, and only 4 showed as finalized. Florence Drive, the next street over, shows the same trend. At this point, I contacted Commissioner Adair and shared my findings and frustrations with this decades-old debacle. I appreciate that she investigated the problem. In the meantime, though, my wife and I decided not to cut off our nose despite our face and continue to lose more solar power producing days and go ahead and have the inspection, which costs $220. After receiving the inspection report, I forwarded it to Mew Green, thinking that at least my project could move forward. That's when I was told that as soon as I paid $191.25 to the Community Development Department, the report would be reviewed and action taken. I was starting to think that there would be no end to the assessed fees and other things that needed to be corrected. Eventually, I talked to Randy Scheid. He did a good job of laying out why, but essentially said, that's the process, that's the way it is, and we were getting a good deal at only $191.25. This is at the very least unfair and undue hardship to homeowners, especially when you consider that these permits are almost 50 years outstanding. Who's at fault for not satisfying or correcting this problem in the first place, or at least somewhere along the way? The builder, real estate agents, mortgage companies, title companies, community development? I'm sure blame can be passed around to most or all of these groups. In my case, though, I took out major permits in 1990 and again in 2011, and neither of these times did this come up in the leadership. It come up. If the leadership of community development has decided that now this is a major problem moving forward, then what happens the next time the leadership changes? I think with a stroke of the pen, these could be satisfied or legitimized. One of my neighbors confronted with this problem only had to have an inspector from community development come out, and that only cost him $110. That would have at least been something palatable. Thank you for your time. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have some.
Okay,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah, thank you. Yes, it is fascinating. It's what, 47 years? And thank you for bringing in the diagram. Thank you, Missy. Ed Muir.
Good morning, I'm Ed Muir. I'm a Bend resident. There's been a lot of discussion about rapid rehousing for the homeless people, and right now it looks like it's been reported that the vacancy rate in apartments is about 10%. And that's going to go up because there's several hundred more apartments coming online here in the next couple of months. So I have an alternative suggestion for rapid rehousing. And that would be that someone from the county or the city needs to contact the local apartment owners and get them to commit about 10% of their apartments to people who have qualified individuals and families who happen to be houseless right now. Set the rent at $900 for individuals or couples for 1 bedroom and $1,100 for a 2-bedroom for families or women with kids. Then they have the county city or grant organization supplement the apartment to the amount of $600 or $700 per month. These would be for 12-month leases for qualified tenants, and a qualified tenant is someone who is drug and alcohol free. They've been vetted by the same folks who vet prospects for other similar high barrier shelters. Tenants must be employed, no criminals or sex offenders, and they must agree to a code of conduct written ahead of time. This is a lot more economic. If you run the math, it's a lot more economic than spending $4 or $5 million to buy old motels or hotels and then spend several $1 million fixing those things up. So that would be a suggestion for rapid rehousing for people at a much more cost-effective method than trying to refurbish old motels and hotels. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muir. Karen Farley.
Hi there.
Good morning.
So I'm the advisor for the Trinity Lutheran's OSET team. Included in the Deschutes County 2021 budget is that the primary purpose for the fairgrounds is to provide social, cultural, and educational opportunities for the citizens of Deschutes County. For years, OSET, which stands for Oregon High School Equestrian Team, has held their 3 annual events at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds. The meets are 3 to 4 day events occurring usually in the months of February, March, and April. In recent years, the fairgrounds has stated that OSET can't compete with the current rates to utilize the facility. When inquiring more recently, the fairgrounds has not returned our calls to schedule events at the fairgrounds. OSET has been holding our 3 meets at the Brazada Ranch Rimrock facility, which is too small for our events. The reasons we need our events to be held at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds include, but are not limited to, closer to medical care in case of accident or emergency, multiple arenas in poor weather, like blizzards. Communications on the grounds are better between the leadership for the different teams and the athletes and the parents. Seating for audience is larger, better parking for horse trailer and tying safely, better camping options to accommodate more camp trailers, better access to hotels for judges, better access to restaurants for competitors and audience. We're asking for help from the Deschutes County Commissioners to hold our events back at the fairgrounds. Currently, the Brazada facility in Powell Butte is too small, especially when there's snow outside and our athletes do not have space to warm up their horses, which is a safety requirement for a lot of these events. The horses need to be warmed up or there's going to be more likelihood for accidents. We're asking for continued support for our local youth and the opportunities OSET provides the youth, and these youth include almost every high school in Central Oregon and the communities around. So just about every high school here in Central Oregon has an OSET team. Mine's the smallest one. But this OSET provides great opportunities for our youth for leadership and scholarships and just being active members in their community. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Is it Daniel? Is it Tag? And the last speaker this morning will be Mackenzie Hughes, unless we have someone online with a raised hand. Thank you.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Daniel Tagg. I'm the advisor for the Lakeview High School equestrian team. My wife and I have been coaching that team for about 12 years now. When we started at the fairgrounds, great facility, great place. It was newish. They said they supported OSET, wanted us being there, using the facility. And then as time went on, scheduling conflicts, we slowly had to start looking at other options and ended up with the Rimrock Brazada venue. And it is a little small for what we have. It's also a bit more expensive. We're paying about 15 grand a meet versus the fairgrounds was 10 grand a meet. And what pays for our meets is a combination of a $300 registration fee, which we're trying to keep that down with our athletes. There's no support from the schools. There's no transportation from the schools. The parents and the coaches get the kids there. And when we're at the fairgrounds, it was 10 grand. Brazada, it's 15 grand. So that's 5 grand a meet. That's 15 grand through the season. And we sell chocolate covered cherries at $5-6 a bag to raise money for that. So we're just kind of asking for some grace and maybe some support to hopefully get back into the fairgrounds. So
Thank you for joining
Thank you.
us. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel.
And just to follow up on this and the prior commenter, we'll make sure that Fair and Expo staff are in communications with you about this. It sounds like there's been some past communications, but I will make sure they close the loop.
Yes, I've been talking about it, I think since the first meet I was at in February to our fairgrounds. So I think it's incredibly important. Mackenzie Hughes, thank you for joining us.
Boy, the third one on this topic, beating a dead horse, comes to mind.
Oh, don't talk about this.
Oh,
Good morning. My name is Mackenzie Hughes. I'm a 34-year-old Deschutes resident, ridden in OSET for 4 years and coached for 9. I've been the Deschutes, the Central District Chair for 1. The Central District spans from east of the Cascades to Burns and all the way down to Lakeview. The fairgrounds is the most central location, and in the past 3 years, we've struggled to schedule dates, and most recently, we've even been declined a call back, stating that they're scheduled out 5 years in advance, which, considering that there are events that are being canceled, I find that hard to believe. There are other facilities that are less central, but we're struggling to find one that's large enough to accommodate us. This is not the only scenario where youth have been declined access to the fairgrounds and buildings. 4-H and FFA have also experienced similar struggles. I know that just in this last year, 4-H was declined access to even any of the annex buildings in the front, south, middle, and north sister buildings, and they had to go as far as Crook County to be able to find accommodations there as well. I'm here today to ask that you all consider our youth and help us have a voice in utilizing these local facilities.
thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you, Mackenzie, for being the leader.
Yeah.
That's great. Stephen, do you want to go online? As you all know, the equestrian program is really close to my heart. That's what I grew up doing. Thankfully, my parents really made sure that we had one horse. And, it was a great opportunity. And I see all those kids and I see how hard they work because I've been at all three of the meets in the blizzard, in the rain, etc. And it's definitely way too crowded over at Rimrock now. And I believe almost every high school in Deschutes County has a team. So I would love to see it be able to happen in our Redmond facility, which was built for the kids. Stephen, are they able to unmute?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is Jenny Lingard, and I'm calling about a statewide grant. It was $10 million across the state. It's called Resilience Hubs and Networks Grant. The purpose of the grant is to break down the silos. And so should there be an emergency or disaster, this grant will help fund collaboration across various organizations. What I'm calling about, I'm very thankful that each county commissioner provided a letter of support, which is amazing. Again, thank you for that. And something that I learned along the way when I was working with the sheriff's office is they were very enthusiastic and encouraged by this grant. They saw that this grant can help fill in some necessary, I guess, enhancement. And with that, they were very respectful about the grant was a lower value because they realized $10 million across the state, it's difficult to allocate. One thing that popped up was because the commissioners provided all three of you letters of support, they said, this is a piece of equipment we really want. It's called LRAD. It's some sort of sound piece equipment. It costs about $60,000. It's currently not here in the county. What would be absolutely amazing, I guess, enhancement to disaster if, let's say, China Hat, there's a fire, you could take that piece of equipment and the sound from a person's voice can say, this is where you can evacuate. So in light of if the cell phones aren't working, it's chaos, there's panic, this piece of equipment valued at about $60,000 can help save lives. It's not here currently. So I was calling one, again, thank you for letters of support for the grant through the sheriff's office. And two, I know it's budget time right now. If there's some sort of consideration, if the grant doesn't come through for that piece of equipment, I think it would be something to consider adding in the annual budget. I don't know what that looks like, but my understanding is even the fire department can use that piece of equipment. There's all kinds of value that can come from having LRAD be here on accessible in Deschutes County. So again, thank you and have a lovely rest of your days, commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Lingard. Oh, and that's thank you for using the word emergency because today at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, they're going to send out an emergency message to everyone. It's just a test and it is at 1 today. So just to be aware of that. Yes.
And just a little bit more insight on the sheriff's office budgeting process. So there are two distinct taxing districts that are not part of the county general fund that support the sheriff's office. There's one countywide district, and then there's one rural patrol district. And those two districts put together add up to actually a much bigger budget than the county general fund. Your property tax dollars add up to. So we can definitely check with the sheriff on whether he is interested in including this piece of equipment within his budget, because we do get approval oversight over those two taxing districts' proposed budget. But the likelihood of us being able to find those dollars within the general fund is probably pretty low.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other raised hands? Stephen? No. Okay. All right. So Lynn, let's go on to our consent agenda.
I'll move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? And I do want to thank I believe 3 members of the audit committee that are going to be reappointed. And then we just have 1 position for audit committee, which will be, I think we just posted that job. So for the vote, Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So let's go to action item number 5. Carol Stiles, you have the floor.
Good morning.
Hi, Tony.
Hello.
It's been a long time since I've been in this room,
Mhm.
probably some election a few years ago. So thank you for hosting us. My name is Carol Stiles. I am the Executive Director interim, please, for Stroke Awareness Oregon. And this is my dear friend, Lanae Hunter. She is co-founder of the nonprofit Stroke Awareness Oregon. To the nice folks behind me, we all think about stroke, especially as we age. And I want you to know that 1 in 5 people will have a stroke in their lifetime. It is the 4th leading cause of death in Oregon and costs billions of dollars every year. That's part of the reason that we exist. 80% of strokes can be prevented with lifestyle changes and care from your physician. People from the ages of 15 to 50 are seeing a dramatic increase in the numbers of strokes that they're experiencing. That's why we exist.
Mhm.
The other part of our life is to support stroke survivors and their families. When someone has a stroke, not only does the body change and the brain change, the whole family changes. Marriage relationships, intimacy, relationships with children, economics, and social. That's the other reason we exist. We do 2 things. We work to educate the public about stroke prevention. Be fast. Who knows fast? Who knows fast?
Mhm.
Oh, Tony, get those cards out we gave you. So Be Fast is a way to identify if your friends, relatives, neighbors are having a stroke, and it has to do with balance, vision, eyes, face drooping, arm weakness or one-sided weakness, speech difficulties, time to call 911. That's why we exist. 1,000 people went through the ER at St. Charles last year with strokes. And that number is increasing as Central Oregon numbers go up. We are here today to ask you to proclaim that May is National Stroke Awareness Month. This will help us educate the public about stroke, how to prevent it, and how to keep yourselves safe. Your proclamation will also be a huge boost to people and their families who've had strokes and who can be recognized for the grit and the resilience that they bring forth every day when they get out of bed. I also want to let the public know that May 13th, Randy Travis, the Grammy Award winner, and his wife will be coming to Bend to do a fundraiser for Stroke Awareness Oregon. Randy had a stroke in 2013. We are putting on an event at the Westside Church that will include music. A Breedlove guitar signed by the Travises will be auctioned, and Randy and Mary will do a fireside chat talking about their challenges, their love, and their resilience. You can go to our website, strokeawarenessoregon.org, and buy tickets and learn more about us. Thank you. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank
And
you for having
as I mentioned in an email, I just had a friend who had massive stroke and he didn't make it. So we're going to go to a funeral this weekend for somebody, and he was in his mid-50s. So it does happen, and it's scary when that happens.
Oh, Tony, I'm so sorry.
No, and I'm so glad we were able to tell the entire public then that the event is not sold out, because that was the rumor. And yes,
Mhm.
so you said strokeawarenessoregon.org and you can get tickets there.
You can, yes, and we are not sold out. And it is just going to be such an uplifting event. And one of the things I want people to recognize is this event isn't just about stroke. The truth is, we all bump into really hard things in our lives. This event is about hope and resilience and how all of us can overcome those things. And who doesn't want to be in the room with a superstar?
Well, relationships and support also. Yes.
Yes, I drove to Kennewick or to Cadillac Hospital when in the middle of the night, my mother had a stroke a couple years ago. And I just happened to see my phone. My sister's calling me at 11 and yes. So she actually got the drugs, the timely drugs, and she by several hours later, because I flew her from Pendleton to Cadillac because it was superior care, but she was able to recover from that. So, you know, it's the diagnosis too. There's an important time factor that
4 hours.
yes, 4 hours. So, your message is really important to our world.
Thank you. That is really good news. And I would say for the record that St. Charles has done a fabulous job in the last eight years with their stroke program. You hit the ER, they have all the diagnostics, they have people trained, they have the TPA. And now in Central Oregon, there's the clot retrieval system that Central Oregon Radiology is doing successfully. I think somebody at the center does it, where they just kind of go in and pull that baby out.
So thank you. Let's read the proclamation and then we'll take our vote. Let's see, Commissioner Chang, do you want to start with the first 3 paragraphs and then Commissioner DeBonne and then I'll finish?
Sure. Yeah, and I would just like to say that a great educator in our community, Roger White, the director of Realm Schools, just suffered a stroke
Yes.
recently, and he's in recovery right now.
Yes. And one of the
so-
things that we can offer is people who have strokes can come to us, and we have support groups, we have caregiver support groups, we have a peer-to-peer navigation program. And this woman is fabulous in talking with stroke survivors about the whole journey.
Thank you. Thank you. So before the Board of Commissioners of Deschutes County, Oregon, a proclamation. Whereas stroke is the 4th leading cause of death and serious long-term disability in Oregon, with thousands of Oregonians suffering a stroke each year. And whereas public awareness of the urgent need for immediate medical attention at the onset of stroke symptoms can significantly improve outcomes and reduce the impact of stroke. And whereas recognizing the signs of stroke can be remembered by the acronym BFAST: balance, eye face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call 911.
And whereas risk factors for stroke include high blood pressure, heart disease, smoking, diabetes, and high cholesterol, many of which are controllable or treatable. And whereas Deschutes County is committed to reducing the incidences and impact of stroke through public education, improved healthcare policy, and community-based initiatives. And whereas Stroke Awareness Oregon and numerous local organizations work tirelessly to increase awareness, provide education, and support survivors in their families.
And whereas the health and safety of all Oregonians is a responsibility shared by both the healthcare community and the public, it is imperative to raise awareness about stroke prevention, recognition, and response. Now, therefore, the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners proclaims the month of May 2024 to be in Deschutes County and encourages all citizens to familiarize themselves with the signs and symptoms of stroke, to understand the risk factors, and to adopt healthier lifestyles to prevent strokes. And it's dated the first day of May 2024 by the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners. So could we have a motion?
I'll move approval of proclamation of Stroke Awareness Month in Deschutes County.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. And I'm
Great.
so glad you were here today, and I'm so glad we clarified that your event has room for more
Nope,
people to attend.
Everybody needs to come, and thank you, commissioners, not only for the proclamation, but for your service to the county.
We have an opportunity for a photo too, if you'd like.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Do you mind if we take a minute to do that?
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay. I don't. Okay. But I don't need to be in it.
Oh, yes.
Will you send that to me?
Yeah. that would be fine. That's kind of cute. Oh, good. That's how he knows that. Yeah. You see you? Face the back. Yeah, 9 years close. Thank you for that. Thank you. Oh, it's good. I can put in that. Yeah, thank you so much. I know I need this. Thanks, Cal.
The good news is we have a new employee in the county who works right across the hall from me. And she gave me some great, a great message to explain to you the Deschutes alert tests today. Today, May 1st, around 1 p.m., the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office and Deschutes County 911 will be sending a text message to people signed up for Deschutes alerts. The message will be clearly identified as a test. Deschutes Alerts is the notification system public safety agencies use to alert people of emergencies and evacuations in Deschutes County. We use Deschutes Alerts to send subscribers a message via smartphone, app, text, email, or phone call. If you live or work in Deschutes County, you should sign up for the Deschutes County Alerts. I've had to do that, and make sure your information is current. We encourage everyone to create a profile and update it annually at DeschutesAlerts.org. So thank you, Kim, for this clear analysis of what's going to happen today at 1.
1
So
o'clock.
don't forget. All right, so let's go to item number 6. We have a public hearing and order.
Morning, Commissioners. Dave Doyle, County Attorney. This is the time for a public hearing on Skyline Ranch Development's petition to annex property into the Deschutes County Rural Fire Protection District Number 2. The district has approved the petition. The assessor's office and the county clerk have certified the petition and verified the number of landowners and electors signing the petition and that it meets the threshold requirements in ORS. This is the time for a public hearing. Should there be anybody that wishes to speak on it? Afterwards, we'd ask that you close the public hearing and move forward with order number 2024-015.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Doyle. We will now open the public hearing for Skyline Ranch annexation to Rural Fire Protection District Number 2. Is there anyone in the room that is here to testify? Yes. Great.
Hi, good morning. I'm Tia Lewis and I'm the attorney for the applicant. I don't have any formal presentation. The application materials are pretty self-explanatory. I just wanted to be available to answer any questions should anyone have any and to provide any rebuttal if we received any opposition testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Is there anyone else in the room? Anyone online, Stephen? No one with a raised hand online. Okay, I don't see any raised hands in the room. Then I believe I can close the public hearing and we will now discuss the matter.
I would like to ask Tia, prior to this application for annexation, how was fire protection being provided to this subdivision or before?
It currently has interim protection through the Bend Fire Department. Prior to construction, there was, forestry protection, but we currently have interim protection until the annexation is complete.
Okay, so it was an ODF protected area prior to construction, and during construction, it's been covered by Bend Fire, and now this is a formal inclusion into the Rural Fire Protection District number 2.
That's mostly accurate. I think that the Bend fire protection coverage didn't start immediately upon construction. There was a little lag time in there due to a change in ownership and leadership within the organization. So the Fire Protection District annexation was intended to have been completed prior to the subdivision plats, but there was a little lag time there because of a change in structure of the corporation. So we're a little behind the 8 ball, but we do have interim coverage. So thank you.
Well, good to get this done now rather than later.
Yes. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of order number 2024-015.
And I will second it.
Is there any further discussion? I'm glad to hear that things are being caught up. Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. We are now at item number 7.
Yes, Commissioner.
Legal.
Dave Doyle again. I'm going to handle this one. We're asking for board adoption of resolution 2024-014. You'll note that some recent court decisions in Oregon greatly limited the recreational immunity from civil lawsuits that public entities have relied upon for many decades. In the 2024 legislative session, Senate Bill 1576 was enacted, which basically reinstitutes the historic recreational immunity through January 2nd of 2026, with the understanding that the legislature is going to take it up next year during the full session. However, in order to avail itself of the immunity protection, the county needs to adopt a resolution. We have provided that for you, 2024-014, and would ask your consideration to adopt that. That would allow the county to, again, be able to rely on recreational immunity for folks that injure themselves utilizing county land with some intent or benefit of recreating. It could be as simple as walking through some county property to get to a creek or a river or whatnot. And without this, then we have a lot more liability exposure. And so it was a trade-off over the years, this recreational immunity, the understanding being that it opens up more lands and recreational opportunities, but people aren't going to do that if they're going to get sued if somebody drops their ice chest and trips when they're walking, and then you get sued for that. So this would put us back in the position we were in before some of the recent decisions.
So is this like applicable at the fairgrounds if you're carrying your ice chest? to the
No,
fairgrounds?
no, the
That's a different-
fairgrounds is you pay money. So when you pay money to go into certain places, you're not able to avail yourself of recreational immunity. This is where you're not charging for any access.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Dave, can you give us a sense of where some of the county sites, potential recreation sites are located that we might be concerned about?
Certainly, there's some in and around Tumalo that access Tumalo Creek. I know we have a number of pieces of county land that people traverse across to get into their floating and whatnot. So that's the primary ones that come to mind for me. I'm sure there's some other ones. Nick may in fact have some pretty good ideas of where some of those might be, but I know the Tumalo Creek area, we've had issues in the past there. We've had claims come out of that where we've been able to defeat those claims on the basis of recreational immunity.
So even though we're not necessarily providing a put-in spot on the river or a pathway into the river, just by virtue of the fact that we're the owners of the land and someone injures themselves on that land, we're vulnerable to these kinds of claims.
Right. Right. And in most instances, these are properties where we're aware of the use. And the ones in Tumalo that come to mind, we're certainly aware of those. In fact, years ago, I know we had an issue where we actually improved some off-street parking and put in some porta toilets. So we certainly were aware of that. We had a similar situation down at Harper Bridge down in the Sun River area as well, you might recall. So where we were able to rely on recreational immunity for folks that were parking along the road and maybe running across the road and down into the river there. So
I don't want to bring this up now, but what about we eliminated jumping off the bridge at Harper Bridge? Is that a permanent rule or was that just for that 1 year?
no, that was continuing as I recall. I believe
Okay,
that's still in place and it was, I believe we expanded it to more than just Harper Bridge, but
that's where we were really seeing.
that was where we were having the primary issues of folks jumping off. Yeah. And again, logically, you'd think if someone jumps off a bridge and they hurt themselves, that ought to be on them, but sometimes that's not the way the law works.
Yeah, this is case law, state legislative choices, and all public lands across the state. So
Yeah, and
This'll-
you never know what you're going to get with these.
Yeah.
So you want to avail yourself of immunity where you can. The kind of seminal case was out of California many decades ago where some people were trespassing on a school and they were up climbing on the roof of the school and they didn't realize they were on a skylight and they fell through. And the school district had to pay millions of dollars for that, even though these people were trespassing and climbing on a roof in the middle of the night when they didn't belong there. And so if there's an opportunity to avail yourself of some immunity, it's beneficial. And certainly we recommend that the board adopt this resolution.
Well, and I think in Oregon, it was slipping on a bridge, Tillamook or some other county where, yeah, I mean, it was wet and they slipped and it was a bridge and it was on public land and somebody wanted to sue somebody for it.
Yeah, it was a pedestrian little wooden
Yeah.
footbridge.
Walking.
Somebody slipped on and it was slippery and they broke their ankle or their elbow or something and brought a lawsuit against the county for that.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move board adoption of resolution 2024-014, adopting the recreational immunity as provided by ORS and Senate Bill 1576.
Second,
Is there any further discussion? No?
I guess the other thing I'd like to ask Dave is, so this is only good through January 2nd, 2026?
Correct. And again, the understanding is the legislature is going to take some more permanent action in 2025, whether that'll require some sort of an opt-in or will happen automatically, or potentially they ratchet it back again. I'm not sure. And then there could be some court decisions addressing this particular legislation that's allowing us to kind of opt back into recreational immunity. It's an open area. We'll see where it all goes.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Mr. Chang,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Okay, we're now at item number 8. I believe this is Eric. Excuse me, not Eric. Yes.
Dan and Eric
Oh, Dan and Eric. Okay, gotcha.
and Laura.
The
Here
team.
we go.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioner Adair, Dan Emerson, Budget and Financial Planning Manager.
Good morning, Eric Krupp, Deputy County Administrator. And joining us is Mountain View Community Development. The ARPA request came from Mountain View Community Development, so we'll turn it over to Mountain View Community Development for this item.
Am I on?
Yes.
Thank you, Eric. Commissioners, good to be with you. Rick Russell, and I'm the Executive Director of Mountain View Community Development. We operate a safe parking program in Redmond. I also brought with me Colton Hill and Captain Wells from the Redmond Police Department today. And if permissible, they have a few comments they'd like to add. We're here today to request additional ARPA funding support of $250,000. Just a sense of our program, we work with folks who live in vehicles, RVs or cars, who are in unauthorized locations, and then we bring them into a place that's stable, surround them with basic sanitation and safety, and then provide case management to help folks move on to more stable housing. In 2023, we served 96 folks in Redmond. 30 of those moved on to a positive destination. 18 of those were to permanent housing. Another 12 were to another positive destination, and Colton will be an example of that and represents one of those numbers. 14 of our folks moved on unsuccessfully, meaning that they either had an issue with compliance to the basic rules or decided of their own will to move on from the program. And about 50 remained in place. At any given night, we house about 50 people, somewhere between 45 and 55 people. Typically about 15 of those are children. And you can probably imagine why that families in particular prefer living in their vehicle to, say, congregate shelter in many cases for their own safety. I wanted to have Colton share just briefly his story, his experience with safe parking.
I'm Colton Hill. My story starts out about 2 years ago in a fifth wheel out on 17th Street on the road. And then I got involved in safe parking. They gave me a safe place to go and a program to take place in that helped me get into housing. And I didn't have to worry about the other people that were living around me out there at the time, stealing the little bit of stuff that I had that made it plausible for me to live, my generator, my propane tanks, things of that nature. I moved into safe parking at the church, and it gave me time to work on my mental health counseling and to get clean. I had a severe opioid addiction at that point in time. Since then, I've went on, while I was there, I went to a detox facility, got clean. I've been clean for 14 months now. I just got done with my peer support specialist training at COCC and got hired with the church through the safe parking program as a peer support specialist. I got a single wide mobile home in a park in Redmond and have done a 180 on my life and turned it around. And I truly believe that was because of safe parking giving me that time and safe place to be and work on myself. And that's what I have. Thank you, guys.
Great. Congratulations. One question. Other careers? Have you had other careers or employment? You know, it's just like in previous experience.
I've always done labor. I did logging when I was 17. I've done heavy equipment operating, push outs, dig outs, most recently landscaping, and I'm working on starting my own landscape company. I have a few lawns that I mow currently, and that's
great.
That's what I do. Thank you.
I figured, yeah, you probably had some other experiences in there.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, Colton, thank you so much for sharing your story because, you know, the drug use in this state it's overwhelming at times, but to hear about someone that was able to make the choice and to do what you're doing, and congratulations on those 14 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for rededicating your life to being a peer support specialist to help other people walk the path.
I just want to be able to show people that there is a way out.
Captain, would you want to provide comment?
I think for our part, thank you, commissioners, for having me here this morning. Good morning. For the Redmond Police Department, obviously we deal with homelessness on a regular basis, and how we deal with that is kind of the piece where safe parking falls in. We're pretty fortunate to have the number of spaces we do have now. I think it provides a way for us to encourage people to move into an area that's going to be safe. It provides also the business owner the opportunity to affect the area around them. I mean, in a number of these areas, 17th Street is a great example where we have a large population living on the street, and then to the east of there in the county lands, and having the option to house people in a safe environment where the business owner has the benefit of knowing that they have a zone around them that can be enforced, provides really an opportunity, I think, for our community. And I think the funding that's needed to do that is imperative. If we were to lose this service, 35 doesn't sound like a huge number, but 35 individuals and then 15 other children, 50 people is 50 people. And 50 people living out in the street again, especially in some of the environments. As Colton mentioned to us, having your property stolen at times. I'm not saying that that's always happening, more that there definitely is a percentage of the population out there that does commit crime. And so being able to protect people, this gives us an additional opportunity where they're living in a controlled, safe environment where they have access to the services they need. I don't know if you've been out to the east of 17th, but you can imagine trying to get out there and provide services is not easy, nor is it cost effective ultimately. So I think in this instance, this program has been immensely helpful to us. I think they do a fantastic job of managing those areas. It hasn't resulted in an increase in calls for service. If anything, it's probably resulted in a decrease because it reduces the amount of times we're responding to different areas where people were living previously. So I think that it just provides so many benefits to our community, both in the county and in the city, that this funding is necessary for us to be successful, especially when we've just most recently been able to provide other services in the city with the Bethlehem Inn and Shepherd's House. We now have multiple options, which I think benefits us all. And to lose any of those at this point would just be a detriment.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, thank you, Captain. This funding request was not anticipated, but really comes as a result of a loss of funding we had expected for 2024 that has not come through in the way we expected. Our other funding sources are through the Health Council, through Pacific Source, St. Charles, Neighbor Impact, private foundations, and some of the legislative funds that were approved that flow through COIC and the MAC committee.
Rick, does Safe Parking, will you be able to get any of those funds through the MAC committee? Because that's what I keep telling them. They've got to add Safe Parking to that allocation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we worked very hard with Representative Levy in 2022 to modify the ORS language about what defines a shelter, and OHCS accepted that modification, and you will see in the emergency shelter definitions, vehicular shelters where case management, safety, and sanitation are present. They adopted all that language. Unfortunately, when the legislature approved the funding that came to our region, they used a more narrow definition of shelter. And so I think there was something in fact of $4.7 million that came into the community to support some of the new shelter beds, Oasis Village and Redmond Shepherd's House and some of the other projects. Unfortunately, because that more narrow definition of shelter was used, we were not able to access any of those funds. And so that was an obvious pinch point that we will be working hard on in 2025. And so to some extent, this is, I would say, kind of bridge funding to kind of help us extend a runway and shore up other funding sources, including the relationship we have with Pacific Source that allows us to invoice for services provided by trained staff, such as peer support specialists, community health workers, peer wellness specialists. And so we are actively training and retraining our staff right now to accommodate their funding model as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the big picture, a lot of moving parts in this whole domain of unsanctioned camping, wanting to help people, safe parking, Oasis Village, other future ideas. So I'm just acknowledging that, a lot of big moving parts. And as you know, Deschutes County proper, we're trying to do a land swap where we really kind of need people not to be on that land just east of 17th Street. Not looking for conflict, but we've got to figure out what we're going to do here. And the time is for action. And we've been kind of stumbling around on this for years now, wanting to help people that want help. But there's just some real challenging situations out there also. Just big picture statements.
If I could, Commissioner Bowman, we understand we see 17th often and what's happening off of 17th and those DSL properties.
That's where we first met, you and I, huh?
It is. Yeah, that's right. We met. We are aiming to be a partner in that as well. And so Colton Story is one example of the way we can do that through safe parking. And another way that we can provide help in that is recently COIC and the Churro put out an RFQ to shore up other alternative sheltering options, such as a managed camp. We responded to that RFQ. We're now waiting for the RFP to roll out. We indicated our willingness to submit a plan for mobile case management. So if there is a managed camp operation, we're not committed to the safety and sanitation of that. That's beyond the scope of what we think we can do. But if another entity was to do that, we're inclined to try to find a way to do mobile support if it is safe. And my own board has concerns about if it must be safe if we're going to send employees into that kind of environment. So we need to learn a little bit more about what the safety and sanitation aspects will look like. But we have responded to that RFQ to both expand safe parking in Redmond and be a partner in what could happen in those 45 acres.
Well, and as you know, I mean, I've spent a couple of weeks out there camping on the east side. You might have heard about that, but I mean, I do have a feel for the culture, the dynamics. It's interesting because when the sun goes down, all the activity kind of starts. There's an well, so this is different than safe parking. We're talking about a whole different thing here, but you know,
Thank you
culture.
for clarifying that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm separating it. Yeah, but a lot of information has been gathered, and as I say, I got a feel for the culture of it. You know, dismantling vehicles and selling firewood. I mean, it's just a lot of variables out there, that's for sure. But we're going to try to, you know, make it better in here in the near future.
To approach it from another angle, I would just say there's we have these multiple needs. We have the need to address homelessness overall, and the safe parking program in Redmond has been an incredible piece of that response to homelessness. You know, point in time count showed that, you know, the city of Redmond and the city of Bend and the surrounding areas are the only places in all of Central Oregon where homelessness leveled off and declined this last year after 15 years of steady increases. So, and I have no doubt that the Redmond Safe Parking Program was a key piece of that success. So we absolutely need to sustain the program and ensure it has, you know, the capacity to continue in its successful work. At the same time, the $2 million that are remaining in the American Rescue Plan, of our American Rescue Plan allocation are kind of all we have to address our homelessness needs. And the county has a couple of very specific needs related to county land that the county is the property owner for, that we need to figure out how to move people out of and onto you know, a better place. So, and I know that the two are not mutually exclusive either. I have no doubt that people who are living out east of 17th Street, who are ready to you know, enter a you know, move to a place where they can safely sleep at night and, you know, compose themselves, that safe parking is an incredible option for those folks. So, but I do, you know, given that there's only these $2 million and we have these needs at east of 17th and North Juniper Ridge, I do want to ask Eric about the responses to the RFQ for that the Aquarian Homeless Response Office has provided. And what I particularly am interested in is, you know, a sense of the magnitude of the dollar requests that are coming through that process, so that we can weigh, you know, how much of the $2 million is actually available for us to work with.
Yes, I recently, the last couple of days, reviewed the 7 requests. I haven't totaled up the requests, but they are, I would venture to say, in excess of $5 million. There's not a specific proposal related to the DSL land exchange, although as Rick mentioned, the proposal from Mountain View Community Development talked about case management services, so that could be applied to that land. But there's not a specific project that specifically noted the 50 acres in southeast Redmond.
Oh, Laura, can you tell us when we gave them 200,000 before? When was that funding given?
And while Laura's looking that up, Eric, do you, so would it be safe to say that, you know, Mountain View's longer term interest in providing mobile case management is as close as we get among those 7 proposals to something that addresses the 137 acres?
That's correct, with one caveat. This was an RFQ process, so it's more for qualifications. There is flexibility in the next stage of the process to work with respondents on the 50 acres. So it's possible that there could be dialogues with those that applied to see if there's interest in doing some type of managed camp. There was a proposal for a managed camp hybrid at Juniper Ridge by one proposer. So the process allows some flexibility.
So that's the 50 acres and then the 45 acres are up in Redmond, correct?
Yes.
And commissioners, if I could,
Oh.
the,
I think
oh,
Laura has our.
I'm sorry.
Laura, do you have an answer?
First allocation was on June 29th of 2022.
Okay, June of 22. Okay, so and that was 200,000? Okay, so it's been almost 2 years. All right, okay, Rick.
The connection between the funding request today and the RFQ and RFP rollout, for us, they're very directed. Our staff and our core programming is safe parking. And so really, in order for us to be able to submit a proposal to and respond to the RFP, we really need to be able to know that our core programming is secure. And if it's not, then it really puts into question, I can't start a new program if the program I have currently is not funded through the rest of the year.
And Rick, I do want to clarify, when your people do graduate, I do believe that you still continue having a relationship with them. You're making sure that they haven't fallen and, need additional help.
Yeah, particularly those who move on to housing. We extend, I think, 6 months of case management, and it's at will. So some folks move on and they're quite independent and great, and others really want our help. But we're glad to stay in touch with folks as long as they need that and want that support.
Because I think a lot of times that's, for people that need it, it's really it's a very important part of your program. So I thank you for that.
Recognizing that Mountain View Community Development has built a significant piece of the critical workforce that we need to address. Our overall, in the big picture, the community's overall needs for homelessness response. I propose that we allocate $200,000 of American Rescue Plan funding for this proposal.
I was kind of coming to the conclusion that, let's come up with some numbers. So I was kind of thinking down that same path. So, are we ready for that?
motion?
Yeah, I'll second it. We're ready for it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make that a motion then.
Thank you so much. Is there any further discussion? I just want to say, I know, Rick, this is so close to the person that you are and how hard you work at it and the staff that you have. And that's why I thought it was so important that we do something now, because I know you're under incredible pressure and I know you're building on all those relationships to finish the funding in a more positive way. And if we can help you now, I do believe it's important. So
I wish we could address the whole shortfall from the other funders not coming through, but hopefully 200,000 is a decent chunk of the way there.
It is, and I deeply appreciate it.
I was going to say, so big picture for Redmond proper and 17th Street and our land swap. This is that window again. So the weather is breaking. It's going to be a summer day and then it's going to be hot and dry later in the summer. But what can we get done before next winter also? So it's kind of, these are easier times to make things happen instead of having to lock down through cold weather and snowstorms.
well, we did have one this week. So.
Yeah,
And we're
well,
supposed to have one
next week it'll be warmer.
Calling for the vote, Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Colton,
Yeah, nice to meet you, Colton.
thank you so much for
guys for having
sharing your story. And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Just another note, these are one-time dollars, so we're not gonna be able to keep doing this, but opportunity to be able to support a program that we know well.
Okay, we're now at item number 9.
Right.
Dan and Laura.
Hello. Laura Skundrick, Management Analyst. So last week at the April 22nd meeting, you had developed an expenditure plan for the fiscal year 25 video lottery funds. And today I'm back with that worksheet. It is in your meeting materials. I can also bring it up today if we want to take a look at that. It does reflect those decisions from your allocations last week. There was one line, I just want to make a note, in the worksheet that was not pulling in correctly last week when we were here. into that subtotal. So you will see an additional $5,000 included in your allocations. We did end up pulling that out of contingency in order to stay in line with your allocations. So I just wanted to make a note of that.
Which one was it?
That was the Newberry Regional Partnership. That was a new line that was added this year. And it
Yeah, so it just wasn't in the
included. Yeah.
formula.
Okay, so that 5,000?
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
To pick up where we left off, I was concerned at the end of the last meeting that we had already allocated out the full 1.37 million of anticipated state lottery revenue for this year. And we still had service partners who we have worked with for many, many years, not receiving full funding compared to the prior year's allocation. And if I'm estimating correctly, that's somewhere in the range of $75,000, $80,000, $85,000. And I would propose that we do have this $1.1 million contingency, and any more with the tightening of our belts at the county in the last year. This is some of the only flexible funding we have to accomplish important community goals. But I would say that fully funding these service partners are an extremely important community goal. And I would propose that we pull the funds necessary to make our service partners whole from the contingency for lottery allocations.
Are you referring to the 24 allocation line or the 25 request line?
I would like to get people at least to the 2024 allocation, the prior year allocation level.
Yeah. So as I say, last time when we spoke, we had that remaining balance that was sent back through that whole group to get them closer to that. So I'm glad that we were as close as we were. And I mean, this, for the folks that are in the room following this, I mean, this is the moment. It's been easy to add some number for many years now, but just big picture items are moving all over the point. We have our, tax rates maximized from last year, public safety and the general fund, and there's different opinions about how all that's flowed. But I mean, this is the reality of where we're at these days. We don't have a big upside at this point in time.
So that's another $75,850, right? Yeah. Had to check that number twice. So you're saying instead of leaving 1.3, you want to take 1.3 million, you want to take the 75,000 off of that?
The contingency line says $1,100,808. So that we've already with this purple column, we've already allocated out the full 1.37 million that we anticipate receiving this year. We would be drawing down the contingency or reserve or
the one up at the top.
Yeah.
So it would bring it almost down to $1 million.
Yep.
I don't know, Dan. What's what's the world doing today? I mean, yesterday was another horrible day. I just feel like things are, we saw the lines crossing on our projections with expenses and revenue. So
these are lottery funds, gamed dollars by our residents across the state of Oregon. And I wonder, if the economy goes up or down, or, what people feel like, if we're really even going to see the growth that we might expect. I mean, I guess it's the estimate, how confident are we in the estimate? Because we're fully allocating what we estimate for this year.
Yeah, but we also, I mean, in terms of new things this year, we threw in the district attorney's office remodel design. We threw in Fair and Expo master planning support. And
but who else is going to do that?
And we're moving environmental health fee subsidy over from transient room tax revenue funding source. So those things are not necessarily going to be in our lottery revenue requests next year.
When I was just referring to how confident are we with the 1.37 number, that's what I was referring.
Right.
Because if that comes in less,
right,
our contingency is going to be covering that. So
And the one service partner that we're not including is actually United Way. And because they're under the grant programs. And I know we got a lovely letter from Diana pointing that out, and their cost, I believe, was what, 2%? It's so minimal. And they're down to half too.
So confidence in that number, or is there any thoughts?
Fairly confident. It comes from a report from the state based on, lottery funds, and that we get a percentage of those. So, I mean, it may be differentiate some, but certainly not enough to substantially eat into the contingency I would expect in this next fiscal year.
Well, yeah, so I mean, I support the special allocations, and I do concur, Commissioner Chang, that I don't know that we're going to do this every year. This is a really good way to boost these programs with these dollars. And I'm not opposed to filling out to the 2024 allocations for service partners in the amount of 80,000 or so, whatever that number is.
But I would
$5,800.
$850. But honestly, if we're going to do
thereabouts.
that, I do believe that United Way should go into that calculation. So they're short 40. If we could just maybe even add another 20 to them.
I'd support that.
I think that would be appropriate. I hate to have a new director being like telling the world that, oh my gosh, I'm short for, half of our funding. So from Deschutes County. So anyway, so you would support that of adding 20 for United Way?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I mean, that this year may signal to long-term service partners, long-term other partners, special projects that we've added in the last couple of years that lottery dollars may be ramping down. But at least we can give people that warning this year as opposed to just springing it on them.
Well, and even if things go flat, it feels like it's ramping down, right? That's the scary part. Even if we have the same resources in any category that we had last year, inflation and interest rates just makes it feel like it's less. So, I mean, I'm sensitive to that also.
Well, I mean, again, we added all of these county core services requests this year to our lottery allocation process that weren't necessarily there in the past. And, that is because we are tightening our belt in various other places across the county. And, we can have a long discussion about, who's to blame for that and whether better past fiscal responsibility would have us in a better place right now. But that's right now, all we're talking about is these lottery dollar allocations. And I would like to emphasize that, those core county requests have not been here in these dollars at this level in the past.
But it is our responsibility. And so I feel that it's important to have them there. So I don't honestly have a problem with them. Is there a motion, please, then?
So I'll move to, basically from what we have on this spreadsheet to allocate an additional $75,850 out of contingency to bring service partner funding levels up to FY 2024 allocations, and to add 20,000 to the United Way of Central Oregon allocation.
I'll second it.
Oh my gosh, is there any further discussion? Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today too.
Okay, Laura, are you going to stay with us?
Last one.
Thank you very much.
For me today.
For you.
Yes. So today, again, I'm here to present the application submitted to the Deschutes County Discretionary Grant Program for activities that will take place during the third and fourth quarters of fiscal year 2024. So typically, the Board of Commissioners reviews applications submitted to the Discretionary Grant Program quarterly and makes awards accordingly. So with that, I can pull up our spreadsheet here that will show our remaining funding available.
And Laura,
Yes.
I know you added the Sisters Rodeo request. Was it 3,500?
Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. See if I can make this bigger. Are you able to see that on your screens? Okay, so if you'd like, I'm happy to, we can walk through each application.
Sure, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay. So we will start with Ben Lapine Education Foundation requesting $1,250 for classroom grants. These funds, this would fund innovative programs not mandated or funded by the state or district, but which support a quality, equitable education that challenges students and enhances learning in art, music, wellness, and STEM.
So, yeah, just a couple of, I'm just thinking, oh boy, here we go. Cause there's huge requests here, a little bit of money. We've lowered that line in our video lottery allocations, knowing that, we want to give it out to folks. So, I'm just sharing that, I'll make a few choices in here. I'm not even judging about, who does a better job than anybody else, through this process. One of the things that jump out at me is the, Sunriver Women's Club Art Fair grant is possibly a fundraiser grant. And as I say, every one of those is for about the full amount that's available. So I'm just going into this with, here we go. Let's see who we can get what.
Yes, there are a lot more requests than we have
Yeah.
funding for at this time.
Yeah, if I'm estimating this correctly, we have about, between the three of us, we have about $20,000 and there's $58,000 of requests.
Correct.
And just think next year it's going to be even tighter because we allocated ourselves half what we have this year. So, yeah, just so the community knows we've got to tighten.
So it would be good for us to let people know that kind of in advance of the cycles.
We could add some language to the website where the applicant.
Right. Why don't you tell them the upside not to ask for $5,000 or $10,000, but maybe like 2,000?
Well, people are listening.
Alrighty.
So
Go ahead. What did you said something about?
I was just going to say, so I'm starting off with a 0 for Ben Lapine Education Foundation. So it's awkward to not be able to offer anything. Nope.
Okay, so
That was just the audio feedback.
if you'd like, I can move on to the next request is Boys and Girls Club of Bend.
Well,
Yes.
if I could, I'd like to put 350 in.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll do 250. That way they get something.
Okay. So for Boys and Girls Club of Bend, requesting $5,000 for scholarships for club youth. These funds would bolster their summer scholarship programming, which provides full day programming for 9 weeks, including outdoor adventures, arts, crafts, and celebrations.
500.
500 for me as well, please.
And I'll do 500.
Next up, Care and Share Community Outreach, requesting $2,500 for their monthly food boxes. This is for the distribution of their monthly food boxes. Majority of the recipients reside in Lapine and surrounding areas.
250.
200, please.
And I'll do 200.
Changing Patterns is requesting $2,500 for their Moving Forward project. This will provide up to 31 people transitioning from prison into the community with assistance in meeting their basic needs, including transportation back to Deschutes County, a hot meal, and access to community partners for essential resources.
This is an organization that hasn't made requests before. I was hoping to get a little bit better sense of their track record of work. you know, their past work history before making an allocation. The purpose, their stated purpose, I definitely support, and but I'm just not sure. There are a lot of organizations that have been working in our community for many years and that have a real track record, and I wasn't able to gather from this information how much what this group has actually accomplished so far. So I you know, this one I'm hesitant to make an allocation to myself.
I'm happy for future applications to let them know more details.
Definitely.
Appreciated.
Yeah, because they got their IRS ruling in 2018. So they have been around for a while. If they haven't asked us before, but you know, what what they're asking for is really important, but they should have some kind of results that they can show what they've been doing.
Sure.
Some kind of feedback would be great.
Okay. Next is the Children's Museum of Central Oregon requesting $3,000 for their mobile museum exhibits. Their mobile museum will offer 7 to 10 interactive STEAM-based exhibits, organizations for traveling and learning. These will be transported throughout the county to schools, libraries, and community centers, providing hands-on learning opportunities for children and families.
$500. So this is an effort that they're just really are trying to get off the ground. A lot of parents engaged, and you know, there's a big future for this, but yeah, that can't do too much at this time.
Okay, next is Citizens for Community requesting $2,000 for event accessibility. This would provide additional accessibility services for their 2024 community programming in Sisters Country. Would include services that make events and initiative accessible to a more diverse array of community members, including those who are disabled, hearing impaired, parents and caregivers, lower income, non-English speaking, vulnerable to social isolation, and or historically underrepresented in community building initiatives.
The line item for my item is children's. Yeah.
Sorry about that. There we go. Next up is council.
I'd like to allocate 400 on this line.
Okay.
I can do 400 also. And the prior one, the museum, I can do 200.
Okay, thank you. For Council on Aging, they're requesting $2,787 for South County Electric Cambro delivery equipment. These 3 electric hot box meal carriers would help support the planned expansion of the hot meals program serving the Lapine area. And this is estimated to triple the amount of people served from 500 to 1,500 people.
500 for me, please.
500. And it looks like that'll get a cost per unit at 1,000, you know, something.
Right. And I'll skip that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Discover Your Northwest is requesting $2,200 for their Sisters Community Leadership Initiative. This delivers potable water, and they pick up bagged garbage from cooperating houseless camps, providing garbage bags for the next week as well. So currently serving about 24 people within 14 campsites.
You said they're serving 24 people?
Is this is this Discover Your Forest, or is this a different new nonprofit?
Discover Your Northwest, I believe, is different.
I think Discover Your Northwest is just the fiscal sponsor, really, but you know, it's the Sisters Community Leadership Initiative, which is
So it says Discover Your Forest 223 for $1,500. It's named Discover Your Northwest.
Oh.
And yeah, so I was just trying to figure out which nonprofit was behind. Who's the fiscal?
Discover Your Northwest.
So that's a new nonprofit.
But again, that's just the fiscal sponsor. That's not the group of people who are doing the work are, you know, like a range of, you know, nutritional assistance, homeless service provider folks from the Sisters area. If you could put me down for 400 on this one.
I'll do 200.
250.
Thank you. Envision Bend is requesting $2,500 for their Community Vision Summit. They're looking to launch a cycle of Envision Bend branded events to help springboard their implementation in 2024.
350 for me, please.
Okay. Next is the Family Friendly Restroom Team. They're requesting $1,812 for their family friendly restrooms. This would fund the installation of diaper changing tables and other family friendly amenities in bathrooms of local small businesses. Next, we have Furnish Hope, requesting $5,250 for their Essentials Fund. This provides recipients with a place to store their clothes and sleep comfortably. This fund allows them to fill in any gaps between what has been donated to them for furnishing homes, including dressers, mattresses, bed frames, and bedding. Next, we have Heart of Oregon.
I'll do 500 for Furnish Hope.
Okay, thank you.
250 for me, please.
Next, for Heart of Oregon Corps, they're requesting $5,000 for their Central Oregon Youth Conservation Corps. Youth Cruise in the Central Oregon Youth Conservation Corps during its 2024 summer season is an 8-week summer jobs program operated in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, serving approximately 65 local young people aged 16 to 18 to engage in environmental conservation work.
500 for me, please.
500.
Next is,
Could you show the bottom line on there?
oh, yes.
I'm gonna get overspent before I even know what I'm doing. I'm not careful. There we go.
Next I believe we're on Hearts Unknown, requesting $2,500 for their Hearts Unknown education. This group guides young people who are struggling emotionally with a unique offering of creative and educational experiences in a safe and supportive environment. These funds would support basic operations, including art supplies, partial rent payments, and food.
I got to meet the director for this organization and learn a little bit about the program. Please put me down for 500.
Thank you. Next is the High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, requesting $2,500 for their food and farm directory. It's a comprehensive guide for consumers to connect with farms, ranches, and local businesses who support locally produced products. These funds would help support expansion of the guide in 2024 to include farms, ranches, and local food businesses that align with their mission, even if they're not HDFFA partners.
500.
400 for me, please.
400. Thank you. Next is the High Desert Chamber Music, requesting $1,500 for their pop-up concerts. This is the 4th season of their pop-up concerts this summer. They bring live classical music in public outdoor locations for family-friendly and all-inclusive events for attendees and supporters.
This one, I was wondering why they didn't submit to the Deschutes Cultural Coalition for arts and culture funding.
That I'm not sure if they did that as well, but I'm happy to check on that or suggest.
And they may have.
They may have.
Mhm.
I do think that's in my mind, that's a more appropriate place for them to be seeking funding for their pop-up concerts.
Next is the High Desert Museum, requesting $2,000 for their Sasquatch in the High Desert exhibit, which combines art, ecology, and history to share perspectives around Sasquatch on display from March 2024 through January 2025. Next is the Lapine Community Health Center, requesting $1,700 for their management training project. The health center serves the rural communities of Lapine, Sun River, Gilchrist, and Crescent, providing preventative care, treatment of acute and chronic illness, behavioral health care, case management, prescriptions, durable medical equipment, transportation, and other resources and referrals for other services. These funds would support the ongoing management training, including around labor laws, self-care, mental health of their team, additional webinars, and in-house and outside trainers and educators.
400 for me, please.
250. I'm gonna be done here soon.
And I'll do 200.
Next, for New Each Morning, they're requesting $623.74 for mobilizing their peer support specialist services. This nonprofit provides connection between women graduates of recovery programs in Central Oregon to the people and resources needed in preparing them to enter the workplace and prosper in the community. These funds would help support the new Mobilizing Peer Support Specialist Services, or PSS, certification courses, equipping their volunteers and members of the community to better serve the recovery community.
I'll do the 123.74.
I was thinking 200. I'll do 200. We'll get part of this funded. So you're thinking 250?
That wasn't me.
I see 250.
That was
Oh, I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
DeBone. This is another kind of new program. I don't really know enough about.
Next is Ronald McDonald House Charities requesting $1,500 for their grab and go food on the run program, which provides access to grab and go snacks during the difficult time during their stay, which would provide, this funding would provide about 4 months worth of those snacks. Next is School of Ranch requesting $649 for special events. These funds would support community events such as their game night and their tips and tricks night, both expecting about 100 people each.
200, please.
I'll do 200 also.
Next is the Sisters Rodeo requesting $3,500 for their point of sale system for ticket and merchandise sales. Their system currently needs to be more efficient in order to increase the speed of processing sales and enhance the rodeo event experience.
Because they really need $1 million to redo the red bleachers. I told them I would use my money, the 3,500, unless anybody else wants to contribute. They've got a bigger problem going on, so.
I'll do 500.
Okay, 500, so then so I only have to do 3,000? That's great, thank you very
I
much.
would do 250.
Oh,
There you go.
so I actually have some money back to spend.
Let's see. 250.
Well, and yeah, this would be a shout out to my friends at the Lapine Rodeo. I offered last year and I think I was able to send them 1,500, but not this year. So I've always showed support there.
Okay. Next, Sun River Stars Community Theater requesting $750 for lighting stands for their road shows. They are expanding into these roadshow types of productions. These stands would allow for easy installation and raising of lighting for these shows.
250 for me, please.
Is there a per something?
And I'll do 250.
Oh, there you go. I'll do 250 also. Fully funded it.
All right. Next, Sun River Women's Club requesting $2,500 for their Sun River Art Fair. This is a 3-day art fair, which includes fine arts and crafts. This event is in August at the Village in Sun River.
And is this the one that someone was saying they thought was?
Well, yeah. So this is probably, I mean, it could be a
fundraiser.
fundraising because it's, putting on the event and then everybody they always create money when they're doing anything. So it kind of fits into a fundraising request, but it looks like we have $3,000 and everybody's asking for 2,500 or 3,000. So that's where I could see at the very end. So yeah, put me down for 850 and then I'll be done here.
And I can do 288.26 to keep make sure I get to 0 so we don't have a carry forward.
Does that drive a nonprofit funder a little crazy when the
Well,
26-cent number? or-
They can just write it, no, that it's,
I know, what, anything helps.
Probably drives them less crazy than only getting a $200.
Yeah, there you go.
yes. Doing what I can.
Um, 250 for me, please.
All right, the last one here before we get to fundraisers is for the Shield requesting $2,500 for their veterans counseling program. In 2024, they're expected to provide over 600 hours of counseling to our Central Oregon veterans.
Put me down for 1,000. They do a great job.
250, please.
All right, moving on to fundraisers. The first is for Bethlehem Inn, their Spotlight on Homelessness, requesting $2,500. This event is at Tethero. It's the inn's only fundraising event and a critical event of their annual.
Okay, so before you get going,
Mhm.
is our balance only $3,003.50?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so they're asking for 10,000 total, right?
So the two goals of this event, one is to raise funds in support of general operations, and then also as an educational tool in the ongoing effort to increase community awareness of the services offered by the inn to people experiencing homelessness. The next event is for the Deschutes Children's Foundation. It's a Ripples Gala auction requesting $3,000. This event is at Tethero. It supports their mission and is the largest fundraiser for the year for them. This brings in critical funding for their mission and the 20 nonprofit partners that they support.
So yeah, somebody could just throw out a proposal here, maybe, I'm hesitant to even say just $1,000 three ways, but that means we're not funding somebody. So I don't know what commissioners want to do here.
$1,001. 3 ways.
Could we pull $1,000 from the contingency and at least give 1,000 to each of these?
Yeah, that's fine too.
Oh, well, we already took out, what was it, 95,000 out of the contingency?
Yep.
Oh, brother.
Growing community needs growing services.
Well, and so we've done pretty well, and I want to thank you for your support in, the spreadsheet and really just kind of coming up with how are we going to, as I say, the terminology I was using in our budget was narrowing the path. We just don't have these funds coming out like we have in the past. So I support $1,000 to the 4 requests.
All right. So we only have to take $997 then.
$996.50.
What?
$996.50.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right.
Laura, if we could go back, the Sasquatch exhibit doesn't really appeal to me very much, but the High Desert Museum, just, for their rotating exhibits and the need to maintain that program, could you put me down for 250 there?
Sure.
They just got $50,000 in a grant from Central Oregon Visitors. The museum did. So they did get that 50,000. I noticed that was one of the largest grants of that group.
Was that for their Sasquatch exhibit?
No, it was for, oh gosh, what was it for? Anyway, they did get 50.
It was probably for like ADA accessibility, those kinds of things, which are also really needed.
No, I think they're gonna it's for the Lizica Mill, right? Sure it was. My grandparents' mill.
A new blade for the mill.
Yeah, the mill probably needs some work on it. No, actually, they get parts from that mill, I was told by somebody. All right, so are we good then, Laura?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please, yeah, we've got to carefully word things for next year, people know. Other items? Yes.
Chair, if I can just thank Laura,
Yeah,
she's
will.
done so much work for these last 2 agenda items. In addition to everything with budget week, we're in the process of transitioning these services to Jen, which is why Jen's in the back here watching very carefully. And so she's been training, she's been doing this, she's been working on budget. So I just wanted to take the moment to thank Laura for her really outstanding work. And I know it's a lot to get us to this point. Thank you.
Well, Laura, you moved from our part of the building to the other part, but you didn't leave us.
That's
So
right. Get rid of me.
I know, we can't get rid of you. Thank you so much. All right, other items? And we did have, at our meeting last night, our public hearing in Sisters, we did set up that we will have another public hearing and the evening starting next Wednesday night at 5:30, that is, May 8th, at 5:30, and the, public hearing for the comprehensive plan will be here. Any other comments?
I have one other item, but
Yes.
whenever you're prepared for me. We had a request from the city of Redmond for a county commissioner to participate on the Department of State Lands, the South Redmond Tract, large lot industrial infrastructure master plan and financing plan. If a commissioner would like to serve on that committee, Road Department Director Chris Doty, Senior Transportation Planner Tarek Rawlings, and Fair and Expo Director Jeff Hines will all serve on it as well. There's not a requirement, but if you'd like to do so, there is the opportunity. And if you're interested in the obligations, it looks like there are 5 meetings, May, July, August, September, and November.
What day? That's the question. Is
Yeah,
the second
good question. I
is it the
don't.
second Thursday of the month? No, I can't fit one more thing on that day.
And I'd be honored to do it too. So I don't know how much.
I don't see the dates identified. I just see the months and this year that are identified for the meetings.
It'd be, yeah, this is a big opportunity, large land, industrial, economic development, building out the southeast corner of Redmond, a lot of big moving parts there.
I'd be happy to participate as well, but
Yeah, so-
I'm also, one thing I'll share under other items is that I'll be meeting with the city of Redmond and a number of other water stakeholders tomorrow to prep for their legislative water summit that they're planning for mid-May. So, I could also just consider that my Redmond duty. And let someone else participate in this large lot industrial process.
I heard Commissioner DeBonne also express an interest. Is that
Right.
Right.
If we want to find out if they have an actual time or are they going to do a doodle poll?
Okay.
A doodle poll would be preferred.
So are you saying you want to do it
I
also,
would,
or?
yeah, I would like to do it too, but I just want to know when it's going to be before I like.
That's fine. So
if
let's
it's
learn
that-
more information.
Yeah, if it's
See how
that,
it fits in our schedule.
if it's that second Thursday, no, I do not want one more thing on that day because I don't have any time. Okay, any other items?
Oh, sorry, I had one item relating to the Moon Pit. We were recently contacted by the attorney for the Moon Pit. They wanted to extend an invite to commissioners to come and do a site visit. Obviously, if all 3 of you were to attend at the same time, and also given the public interest in this particular topic, we advise them that it would have to be a notice public meeting and have to be open to the public. They did respond and then extended the opportunity for commissioners to come and do individual tours of the Moon Pit rather than extending it to.
So
the
that'd be their
public.
choice?
That's their
just thinking right
choice.
now? Okay.
Obviously, given the
Mhm.
public interest in this, I think ultimately the commission can decide whether or not it wants to do the individual commissioner visits or if they want to respond by asking for it to be a public opportunity for the public and also all 3 commissioners to view it at the same time.
I'd like to go individually.
So this is the property owner extending an invitation.
That's correct, through their attorney.
Could we set it up like 3 in a row sequential so that they can just do it all in one block?
You could, yes.
I mean, it's, then the inefficiency is in us driving, each individually driving, but at least they're just getting it all done in a block of time. I'd be okay with that. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, so I'd support, just getting out there.
And we'll get back to them regarding.
So we'll
that.
do it individually.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm not worried about, because there's probably operations out there every day. I don't know that we need to worry about the time frame as much. I mean, if we go on different days even, I don't see a big issue.
Yeah.
No,
You're selling it.
They're probably bringing a whole bunch of people from their end. So.
Well, Yeah, whatever's, yeah, that's fine. Either way.
Thank you.
And just, before you start setting times for this, what is the, when will those two options, the choice between those two options, when is that coming back to us?
I believe Tim is looking in May. Brenda, do you know by chance? I thought I had heard end of May, but I'm not certain on that.
They're looking at either May 29th or June 12th. And I have not heard the decision between those two dates.
About T-1 month.
Because we do have budget week coming up, so I mean, this would have to happen really soon, and I'm kind of busy between now and May 29th.
We'll let them know and we'll see what we can work out with scheduling.
Okay, thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
So just one other note, I was able to attend the Jungle live musical at Lapine High School with my wife last week. It was date night. We were able to really enjoy the theater, live theater at the high school. It was pretty well attended, probably 100-something people in the audience, and the kids were real proud of their presentation. So it was multi-scenes live musical at Lapine High School last Friday.
I guess the last thing I'd add was I attended the Rooted Homes fundraiser last week, later in the week.
And then a Mosaic lunch today.
And I had the privilege of being at an event for the Marines with the ROTC program from Mountain View and Redmond High. And amazing young cadets that were part of the service. The meal service, they had started at 6:30 in the morning and were continuing on. The Mountain View program needs some help with their funding. They went under 100 participants, and that cut off their funding from the state for like 2 years. So I believe they'll get back over that 100, but that's going to be 2 years that they're going to need some help from the community. So some great kids were there.
And also
adults.
I'll be attending the Spotlighted Homeless event coming up here pretty soon with my wife. So we'll see Gwen and the team there.
Great. Yes, on the 7th. All righty. Anything else? Are we ready to adjourn then? Do we know about next Monday? If we're going, we don't know yet, do we, Brenda? If we're going to have a meeting on Monday?
It looks like not. Nothing has been submitted.
Okay, because AOC does have a meeting. AOC's, we've got to give them some feedback. They really kind of added a lot of inconsistencies to their agenda planning. So, yes. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Thank you all. We will be adjourned probably until following Wednesday, which will be May 8th. Thank you, Stephen. Great job.